Christy Friesen Create-Along Challenge. So it's based off the tutorials in this book by Christy that is called Flourish. And you can see that we'll be dealing with plant and flower and sort of woodland parts and pieces. And today's tutorial, we're going to talk about pods. And you can see as I flip through here that Christy's books are full, chock full of stuff. So on page 33, she's got this fun pod right here. And the way she made this, it's pretty simple, but it ends up looking very complex. And she used basically E-beads, which are a large seed bead, to give that effect. But when I was looking at this, and combined with some other things that I saw more towards the back of the book, having to do with the forest and this little dude, Twiggy the tree dude, you can see that there's some inspiration in there that comes from the fungi that grow on trees that are sort of cup-shaped. So here's what we're going to do. And this is why some of Christy's projects can be so fun to just grab clay and start doing it. I have this pile of scrap clay right here from a previous project, and it's got all these fun colors in it. This is going to be for the pod. And then I decided that this orange color would go nicely with some of the stuff that's going on here. So I'm going to set that aside and work with this. This is Pardo clay. P-A-R-D-O, it's a brand name of clay, and I really like their colors. This has mica in it, so it's like a subtly shimmery clay. And of course we've got Christy's tool here. This is the Can't Live Without It tool, and I'm going to be using mostly this end of it. And I've got a homemade needle tool to poke some holes. I've got a tile that I'm going to use for baking. So basically what I'm going to do first is make these little cup shapes by using this tool and sort of rolling it around. And then I'm going to poke a hole in the bottom here. And then I'm just going to put this on my tile and bake it. So again, I'm just going to pinch off a little piece of clay, roll it and press it a little bit flat, and I'm not poking a hole or anything, I'm just sort of using this tool to round it out and make it have a cup shape. And then in the bottom of the cup, I'm going to make a hole. And then just pop it onto your tile to bake it. And you'll see after they're baked and I make the pod what the purpose of those is. So to finish out the project, you're also going to need either some head pins that have balls on them, which I'll show you what that is in a couple minutes here, or you're going to need seed beads and just regular head pins, because that is what's going to hold these little fungi thing onto the pod. So you'll probably want to make a whole bunch of these, and if you make too many, don't worry, because you can always use them for another project. Let's make the pod. So I've got this bit of clay, and I'm actually going to cut off part of it, just to have the pod this big would be overkill, but to make it about this big I like. So first thing I'm going to do is mix these colors up just a little more, because I don't want it to be quite so swirly like that. So I'm just going to kind of mush it around a bit. And then if you roll it so that it hits the outside edge of your hands, you can roll in an oval shape rather than a circle. See that? And then I'm just gonna use my hands to give it a pod kind of a shape. And down here I'm gonna pull, twist gently. I don't want it to be too skinny, but I do want to have a little twist at the bottom, kind of like that. And then I might mess with the top shape a little bit, make it a little more compact. It's all up to you how you want it to look. Alright, so there, I like that shape, and now we're going to play with some head pins and some beads. So this is a head pin, it's got a flat spot there, and these are going to be a little too long. So I've got some wire clippers, and then these are my pieces that I baked already. And these are a size 8 seed bead, so they're a little bit bigger than a regular seed bead, which is usually somewhere around an 11. So I'm going to put a bead on here, and then I'm going to thread it into this little cup, like so. And then I'm going to give a little twist on the bottom and make it into a little sort of hook. And what that's for is to press it in here and get it stuck. If you don't put that little hook on the bottom, you're in danger of having your decorations fall out after baking. Nobody wants that to happen, so grab your pliers and make your hooks and embed them. Give them a little squeeze after you get them in. Embed them in there. I'll do one more, and then I'm going to go off camera to do the rest because I don't want to bore you. Okay, so I've got the bead, the head pin, and it's going into the little cup that I made, like so. And then just flip the bottom of that up into a little hook and stick it in the pod. Got my little thingies stuck in there all around the pod, and the last part is to decide if you want to give it a calyx for hanging. And the calyx is the part at the top of the bud that encases the new flower or the new growth. So looking at my scrap here, I've got a big chunk of this yellow on the side, so I'm going to sort of capitalize on that to make the calyx and see if I can't get a sort of dominantly yellowish color out of this, which I can then use to create a little cap for the bud. So always keep your scraps around. They're useful for so many different things. And a chunk of clay like this, I mean, it'll never go to waste as long as you think about what it could be. Alright, so I'm going to cut off about half of this because I want to turn one part of it into like a stem. With a flattish top. And then the other part is going to be little petally things that are going to come down. Let's see how many I can get. Maybe 5. There we go. And then I'm just going to flatten them with my fingers, bring them to a point, and have them come down and over the sides. I want it to be organic looking, so I'm not terribly concerned with perfection. You can, of course, spend as much or as little time planning this out as you want. I just saw this chunk of clay sitting in my scrap pile and said that is going to be an amazing pod. Just because of the colors. The colors have this organic feel to them, and they just looked like they would go with this orange chunk that I had, so I just went with it. Alright, so then this is going to be the stem part at the top, and then I'm just going to curl it over because that way I'll have a hole here to use for stringing if I wanted to make it into a pendant or a decoration or something. You can string it up. So now I'm going to put it on my tile for baking. And remember, I told you if you make some extras, these are baked, so you can use them to make matching earrings or to make another pod. Don't forget to check out and pick up the book that started it all so that you can really get into this with us. Flourish by Friesen, which is linked below the video on Polymer Clay TV, A Reason to Friesen. It's the Friesen Create Along project. And the prizes for this month will be linked there also, so you can check out what Christy has given to us to give away. And to participate, all you have to do this month is make your own pod and post it, and we will give you posting instructions on the website. So go ahead and create along with us, and we hope to see you soon.